Hey everybody, I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Z Garcia.
Jason Levine, the gaming machine.
I'm Tom Vassell, the hassle. Anyhow.
The hassle? Tom
The
Vassell.
hassle.
Tom Vassell, the big hassle.
It's better than it could be.
Yeah.
Anyhow, today we're taking a look at Slay the Spire, the board game. When I heard this announced, I really blew it off because I play Slay the Spire. I love Slay the Spire. It's an app or Steam.
Video game, right?
It's a deck building game, and I was like, why would I want a board game version of that? It already works well. So I went into this with a fairly skeptical air. The people who made this game, Contention Games, definitely have played the video game, though. Mm-hmm. It's very similar. Now, whether you played the video game or not, I'm going to show you how to play this, and we'll be right back. In this game, you can play just Act 1, which is on a board here, actually 2 boards, which give you sort of a randomized thing, and you put these little things here to show the different locations you can go to. There's also an Act 2 and an Act 3. The full game is to play Act 1, then Act 2, and Act 3, but you can play any of the others. In fact, the game gives you quick start ways to upgrade to go through an act. So when you start the game, you're going to pick one of the 4 characters that's in the game. So we have here the 4 different characters. Each character has a board where you keep track of your energy, your block, and your health, which will start at full. Each character will come with a starting deck of cards, some rare cards, and some other upgrade cards, your regular upgrade cards. You'll keep these to the side near your board. But what players are going to be doing, they have a special ability. So this guy here heals. At the end of combat, he heals 1 hit point. But you'll have a starting deck of cards, and the cards are mostly the same. There's a lot of strikes, which do 1 damage. There are some special cards, like this guy has a bash, which does 2 damage and weakens an enemy. There's a lot of defends that do 1. The game comes with the cards in sleeve because as the game progresses, you have the opportunity to upgrade cards, and you'll flip them over. So instead of doing 1 defense, this adds 2 blocks to any player. And the strikes are more basic. Instead of 1 of those, you will get 2. And many times over the course of the game, you'll get rewards where you'll draw the top 3 cards from your reward deck, and you'll pick one of those to add to your deck. These cards can also be rewarded. If you get this golden ticket, you get to draw a card from the golden deck, where these cards are even more amazing, and again, will be added to your starting deck. Other things will allow you to remove cards from your starting deck. Characters are going to decide where they're going to go. You start with a fight, but after that, you're going to pick the paths that you go on. And there are various things on here. There are campfires, where you can either heal hit points or upgrade one of your cards. There are enemies, but there are also elite enemies, which are much more difficult. There are these question marks. A random event will happen. Here, you'll get a relic. And you can also go to stores where you will be able to purchase items and potions and other upgrades, and even more cards for your deck. It's also one of the places to basically pay where you can get rid of a card from your deck. And the game, which comes with this board here for reference, flips to the other side to show you the costs at a store. In a combat, each hero has a figure which is placed next to the board, and you'll get a character that's randomly placed there. The characters will come from the act, so this is a regular enemy from Act 1. If you have an elite enemy, you would draw one from this pile. Whenever you have your first combat, there's always, this is a first encounter, so there will always be certain enemies, and many enemies, like this one here. At the bottom, you'll see green louse. That means when it comes, you will summon another enemy. And so there's extra enemies summoned, and there are quite a few extra enemies that show up in this game, enough so that it's very rare in this game to have an enemy that does not have summons with it. And there's a whole deck of different summons that will show up, from the large slime to the acid slime to the green louse to the spike slime to sentries to mad gremlins to the sneaky gremlin, and this is just Act 1. Now, a round of combat, players are going to shuffle their deck of cards, and then they are going to draw 5 cards from that deck. These cards will be in their hand. You're also going to roll a die, because that die is going to show you what some of the enemies will do. Some of the enemies do the same thing every time. Like this small slime here is going to hit this character, the defect, for 1 damage. The acid slime is going to weaken the defect, which means you'll have a weaken token put on him, and next round the weaken will only do 1 hit. But you're going to want to play cards back. So you can play cards. Strikes doing damage, defense building up your block. Block is something that you keep track of in each round. It goes back down to 0 at the end of a round, but it can block damage that you get. Unblocked damage will make your hit points go down. If you lose all your hit points, anyone dies, the game is over. But meanwhile, you're trying to hit these characters. Once they go to 0, they are gone. And after combat is over, they'll show you in the top corner the rewards that you get. This lets you draw 3 cards and keep 1, and gives you a potion. Anybody can hit any of the characters. So you have to decide, but the characters, the enemies in your row, are going to be hitting you. Some people even have things that let them switch which row they're in, so they'll be able to move around. And you work together until you've defeated the combat or until you've lost. I mentioned these potion cards you can get. You can have 3 potions. There's tons of different potions. They all do different things. Like this one lets you play one of your attack cards twice. You also have relics that you get. These are kind of, well, many of them are permanent. And some also are affected by the die roll. Like if a 2 is rolled, this one gives you 2 block, and a 4 rolled does 2 damage. This one, you get 1 block if you don't have any block. You can't get curses because the game has negative curse cards that you can get thrown into your deck, usually as a result of you getting a great card along with it. So players are going to get all this stuff until they get to the end of the act where they're going to fight the boss. Now the boss is a much bigger thing. These are some of the bosses from Act 1 here. The Hexaghost, the Slime Boss, and the Guardian. They're going to have a lot of hit points based on the number of players, and sometimes they also will come with minions. You can see they follow a track of what they'll do. This one puts fire cards in your deck. The slime is just really big, but when you blow him up, he turns into a bunch of smaller slimes. The Guardian is constantly hurting you and going into a defensive mode where it's hard to hit him. And again, these are just the bosses from the first one. So you're getting coins and cards and upgrading. When you get to the question mark cards at a certain spot, you will just turn it over and everyone decides what they're going to do. So here you can pay money to heal, upgrade a card, remove a card, or do nothing. And there's a lot of these cards. And if you beat the boss in Act 1 and you're only playing 1 act, you win. Otherwise, you get some really cool, special relics. And then you go to Act 2. And then you go to Act 3. And if you beat the boss in Act 3, you win. And the game even has unlockable content after that, but I'll let you find that out on your own. Okay, so there's a lot to talk about here. Now, all of us have played the online game. You like
video game,
you
yes.
like to play the Spire.
I do.
I love it. And
I play it literally every time I'm on a plane flight. I play it. I love this game so much.
yeah. So, I don't know about you guys. You were skeptical going into this also.
Yes, I was. For the same reasons that you set out. It's that the game already basically was a card game or a board game that was just only existed electronically. And I thought, why take that and translate that to a slower, more fiddly format? It's already so interesting. It already works and evolves and gives you so many cool choices, moments, things to do. I wasn't really interested.
I thought the same thing going into this. I said, it already is a board game in the app. Why are they making a board game? How are they going to make it where it doesn't feel like a trudge versus playing it in the app where it's like boom, 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 and you're doing everything?
Yeah, it's just, it would have to be again, in my mind, it was going to be a 1-to-1. And while it is, they really threaded the needle here in an interesting way, where this game feels like the video game, which is a video game, and yet they subtly massaged a lot of things so that they don't feel like a trudge, so that you don't feel like you're just kind of waiting it out. This would be faster in a video game feeling. They managed to just, the math, the way in which you can work with other players, all of that comes together very clever ways. Yeah,
so if you've played the video game and I teach this to you, you're off and running in 5-10 minutes, right? It's the same stuff. But, like Z said, they changed the hit points and how much damage you do. They've dropped them tremendously, which is a Very good change. It just makes it easier and smoother to run. But they've kept everything else, from a whale who gives you rewards at the beginning of your journey to the really weird events that you shouldn't think too hard about, story-wise, to the monsters and how they work, to the 4 characters are so different. I can never remember their names, but the red warrior and the
purple.
The green one's called the silent, and the blue one's called the defect. I always remember those two, and then the purple. But they all play, and they're definitely tilted in how hard it is to play them. The first guy just goes through and hits. Sure. The next guy does poison and has daggers. The third guy is tossing these orbs that do things, and the fourth guy is going from stance to stance. But they're really different. That difference translates here, and if you're looking for that sort of thing in a game, I think what's cool about this is you could play all 4 characters, and you're going to get 4 very different experiences.
Right.
Now, the question that we've been dancing around here a bit is, so why play this when you have the board game? And that's because this game introduced something different. Well, the obvious thing, it introduced multiplayer. You play the video game, it's just you play by yourself. This is multiplayer, and it allows players to say, I'll hit your character, you hit mine. I need some defense, you do this. And the level of interaction was really good.
It's very fluid, this game, and it manages to really put that cooperation front and center. And there's not... It's sort of like we are just all making music. Okay, that guy's gonna hit you really hard. You have the thing to take him out. Why don't I take him out actually? And you can use your card that doubles the next hit on a better card. And then the third player was like, well, I have a hit for 4. I'm like, great. Then you play that, and then you can hit for 8, and now I'll take out that guy who's gonna bother you. It's kind of like making music. I really like the way you go back and forth.
I didn't explain this real well in the overview, so let me clarify. You have a certain amount of energy to spend each turn. You start with 3. You can get more through a few things. Each card has a cost at the top, but you can play all this stuff simultaneously. So Jason can play some cards, I can play some cards, and what this does is it means the game comes with 0 downtime. Yeah. There's no downtime.
And the co-op mode, I think, is the greatest thing that has come out of this game, because in the app, it's just you against the computer, and that's it. And here, you're now working together as a team. I want to do this, I want to do this. And it is very interactive, and it feels like there's more. They added a new mode into what was in the app into this. And I'm hopeful that when Slay the Spire 2 comes out, that they add this co-op mode into Slay the Spire 2 when the app comes out for that one.
Would you play this solo, the board game?
More than likely not, because I would just play the video game at that point. But I would play this with a bunch of people because I do like the co-op mode, and I think it adds something interesting to the game.
What about you?
I think it's the same. I agree. I think that's the question at the end of the day is, you're a solo gamer, you know Slay the Spire most likely, but do you buy this to keep playing solo? I don't know. That's a tricky question. I lean towards no. I'm with Jason on this one. Okay? If you have a group you can play with, and you're a fan, especially if you're all fans of Slay the Spire, I think you're going to have a tremendous time with what's in this box. As a solo-only player, it's a lateral move. If you absolutely must manipulate the cards and you know that's going to bring you that much more joy, at that question, it's more of a, at that moment rather, it's more of a question of, do you dislike video games generally?
Sure.
You know? For me, it's a no. But, man, multiplayer. Woo.
Now, so I said that you can play Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and this game is super smooth. You play Act 2, you say, I just want to play Act 2 today. Great. Upgrade 6 cards, get this much money, do this, this, and this. It's so easy just to jump in Act 2.
Yes.
But playing all 3 acts is a pretty epic game. I'll very rarely do that because each act is going to be 45 minutes to an hour, well, especially Act 3, because the boss at the end of Act 1 feels like an epic boss. And the bosses at 3 are just even more so. The elite enemies in 3 are really, really difficult, although you can avoid a lot of them just by going a different path.
The paths is the key to the game. Is I want to go this path. I want to get to where I could upgrade cards, where I could throw cards out of my deck, where I could heal myself. And I always try to avoid the big monsters when I can, But sometimes they're good because they give you extra powers at the end, so you get extra cards and extra cool things with them.
Yeah.
They really managed to take a ridiculous amount of the DNA in the video game and stick it in here. You know, and none of it feels like a given. It all seems like, oh, okay, you thought about this. Like those boards that are in the video game and you pick your path. You have that. But you randomize the tokens on it. So it's like, ooh, that's very board gamey. I like that. I like that the path is unpredictable, you know, before you set it up. Something very simple that they managed to put in this. Every time you finish a fight, you draw 3 cards from the side deck, and you pick one, and discard the others. That's how you upgrade your deck. The same way you do it in the video game, where boop, 3 pop up and you click the one you want. That is so clean. It is so smooth. There's so the shop, they nailed it with the shop. You know, there's that one card that shows up in the corner that randomly ends up there, discount of 1 because it's the one on sale. I'm like, brilliant. It's the little things that they put in it that give you that nostalgia for the video game almost, but just sort of make the whole thing very smooth. There's no... They've managed to not have any one part of this feel like, well, we need to simulate the video game, so this is going to end up being a little, like, clutchy. You know, it's going to feel a little sort of not smooth, so that people will go, yeah, it's like the video game. No, this is super smooth.
Now, if you've never played the video game, I think this is a game that's going to introduce people who like co-op games and like deck building. The deck building in this one's really interesting because you start with a pretty pathetic deck.
Yeah.
But you instantly, out the gate, get to add a card to it right away. And you might, let's say you're playing the silent character, you might say, ooh, I can do some poison to characters, which keeps hitting them turn after turn, or I can do these daggers with cool things. Which one of these cards do I want to start with? You do that before your first battle. And your first battle, after that, you do it again. And so you're constantly making your deck cool. The combos you pull off after a while between your potions and artifacts and stuff and upgrading the cards, it's fun because it could feel like a slog, another enemy. But every battle feels different because of the stuff that you've upgraded from the last battle.
Yeah.
And that just makes it so much fun.
You can decide, again, like you're saying, as you go up, you can draw 3 cards and go, I'm going to start dipping my toes into more poison. Oh, that last card I got, it's going to combo well with this new card I just saw. And you can shape what you're doing through your adventure. It's really neat that way.
Yeah, the deck works just like the video game. There's one thing I don't like about the deck is that unlike the video game where you might get the same card 4 times along your journey, in here, because it's contained in a box, there's basically 1 of every card. So if you get a card,
there's 2 of a few of them.
Is there 2 of a few? Okay, so there's 2 of a few, but in the game, sometimes you're like, I got 4 of this, now I've got this power, and I'm going to keep going with the claws, or going with this, or going with that. And here I was like, okay, I'm getting the 1. I know I can't build exactly the deck I want because there's, they can't print infinite cards versus an app, but I still love the cards, and I love the sleeving on the cards, the fact that the sleeves mean something and that you have to take the card, flip it, and upgrade it as well. I think that's very important, and it gives that same vibe of the video game.
Easy to tear down and set up, by the way. That's not as big of a deal.
Yeah, and that's another one of those choices I was talking about. I mean, production-wise choices. How do we simulate the fact that you can upgrade every card in the video game? Like every single card, there's a souped-up version. You double-side print them and give you sleeves for every card right in the box. What? Done. I mean, nailed it.
What would you give it?
I really was impressed by this. And again, I think it's coming from thinking, yeah, I like the source material quite a bit. It's an excellent game, but what could they possibly do here that isn't just going to feel like they're monkeying themselves, No, there's a lot of subtle work happening here so that you feel like you're playing the video game, or at least you feel like you're in that world. But there's a lot of subtle choices they made so that you're playing a smooth, fast-moving, cooperative card game. I'm giving this one a 9. I think they knocked it out of the park. If you are a fan of the video game, no question, you should try this out. Again, especially if you're playing multiplayer. But if you're just someone who's a fan of deck-building games or sort of boss battlers that are very popular right now, that kind of game, you should try this out. I think you might be surprised by what a fast-moving, enjoyable box this is.
What about you?
So me, I really love this game. I love the deck building. I played the app a ton. I know we said earlier that if you're playing solo, I would rather play the app than have to set this all up. But I love the co-op mode. Because of that, I'm not quite as high as he, but I'm very high. I'm giving it an 8. I think this is a wonderful game. I think if you like the app, you will like this game. If you've never played the app and you're just looking for a dungeon crawly deck builder, it's a great dungeon crawly deck builder on its own, and I give it an 8.
All right, well, I'm with Z. This is a 9. I was blown away. Like I said, I went into it expecting to go, oh, another video game ruined with a board game mode. But this did it so well. And one thing that it really does well is you cannot be an alpha gamer. Everyone is working together, because I don't know what cards are in your hand. I'm playing a card, and I don't even like looking at him like, oh man, I wish I had more defense. You're like, I got defense. Ooh, we can do this. And you think of the combos. And when I play the video game, I like to play a custom game sometimes where I have all 4 decks, which is not particularly efficient, okay? But you can pull off some really cool combos that you can't normally. And I like doing that. Well, this allows that now.
Yes.
Because Jason's like, I'm poisoning the guy. I'm like, well, I just weakened him now. Watch this double hit that Z just pulled out of his pocket.
Yes.
It just feels great. Leads into great moments. And if you play just one act, in my opinion, that feels like a complete game.
Yes.
And we're talking 60 to 90 minutes. And set up, tear down, not so bad. It looks, I thought it'd be way worse. With the sleeving and all.
Yes.
The sleeving, initially, pain in the neck. But
then you're done. You do it
but then
once.
you're done.
Yeah, once you're done, you know, the game works. Everything works. The production is great. This is a great game.
So there you go. That is Slay the Spire. Thanks for watching. I'm Tom Vassell.
I'm Z Garcia.
Jason Louis in the Gaming Machine.
Okay, Z Garcia.
Z Garcia, the mean gorilla.
Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you like this review or whatever you just watched, wasn't it amazing? Check out our channel, Dice Tower. We have all kinds of things. We review games, we do top 10s, we play games live. It's all about board games, but especially the people who play them. Check out Dice Tower YouTube channel.